What's going on, guys? It is Killer Drone, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a campsite like what you see on screen now. Something that is very detailed, but also relatively simplistic. Something that's not going to take a lot of resources, but still look really good in your world. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to find ourselves a location, and then I'm going to show you guys kind of my build process as we go through building one of these campsites. So without further ado, let's go ahead and head over. So the way that I like to build inside of Minecraft is I like to go for a very realistic approach whenever building a campsite. I like to have things make sense as they would in real life and kind of translate that over into the game. So when picking a location, keep this in mind. You never want to have your campsite in the middle of, say, a bowl in a valley, because that means that your campsite will flood over time because all of the water is going to run there. So what you're really going to want is to put a campsite on top of a hill or on top of a mountain or something like that for it to really make a lot of sense inside of your world so it doesn't look out of place. Now, that's not to say that you can't do something like this in a valley. It's just from a logical sense, the way that I build, it wouldn't look very good in that location. So I'm going to go ahead and find ourselves a hill for us to build us a campsite on. Alright, ladies and gents, we are back, and I think I found a pretty good area for a campsite here. Here on top of this hill, it kind of faces this lake over here, as well as this natural waterfall. And then on the back side, there is a nice little river and another kind of a bay out here, I guess you could call that, which I really like. So this is a perfect location for a campsite. It's also on top of a hill, so theoretically, water wouldn't flood our campsite, and also we wouldn't have any types of issues with waste running back into our campsite. It would all run downhill. So this is a good location. I like this location, and it makes sense for a kind of like a real life situation. So the first thing that you want to do with your campsite, which I've already done, is kind of groom the campsite. You want to get rid of trees that are too short. You want to get rid of trees that are too close together, making this area feel claustrophobic. You really want to kind of have a tree every now and again and kind of providing shade to this area, but you do not want just a ridiculous amount of trees being all clustered together. That's not what you want. A campsite needs to be open and easy to get around in. And I think by clearing out the trees that I have, we've accomplished that pretty well. So now what I'm going to do is I am just going to kind of expand out this top area just to give ourselves a little bit more room to work with here for our first campsite. And then after that, we're going to work on getting ourselves a centralized location. Now, this is going to be very important because everything inside of your campsite is going to be based off of what location that you pick. So let's say that I want right there to be the center of my campsite. Now, everything needs to be based around this point right here. So where you put your tent kind of needs to face this campfire. Where you put your chairs, where you put your picnic tables, everything needs to be kind of molded around this centralized location. Because fire is life, you know, that type of thing. So that is where I'm going to set our campfire. Next, you're going to need a tent. As always, you're going to need a tent on a campsite. So I went ahead and got the blocks out here, and the way that I build my tents is I want them to be spacious and actually have a use. So I do mine a little bit differently than most people do theirs. So what I'm going to do here is I want to make sure that I have a little bit of distance from my campfire, but basically what I'll do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like so. And then I want 5 blocks in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this would be where my edge would be. So let's see, make sure that's even. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this would be where my tent goes. And in this case, it looks like my tent is going to hang over the edge. That is fine. There's a couple of things that you can do for this. You can either put up like supports to make it look like the tent is being held up by something, or what I'm going to choose to do here is just kind of move out this ledge. I want to take some I'm just going to use grass blocks, but eventually this will turn into dirt. I'm just going to use some of this and put some foundation right underneath that. And then below, further below, to make this look a little bit more natural, where this kind of looks like it's just a sheer cliff, I may come through and do something like this just to break that area up, you know, just so that it looks a little bit more like natural terrain. That looks a lot better already. Okay, so now we have our tent set up, or at least the outline of it done. Let's go ahead and set time back to day. Now what I'm going to do is, most people, whenever they build tents, they do for the centralized poles like this. I think that takes up a little bit too much room and gives me very narrow walking space. So what I'm going to do is, in the center of my tent, I'm going to do one pole, just like so. And then right here on these corners is where I plan on putting other supports. I think that this works out a lot better. Now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of color into my tent. Now, the way that I do this is, for all campsites, I always use earthy tones. So if we go ahead and look up wool here, you don't want to have a bright pink tent, or you don't want to have a bright yellow tent, or bright purple, or bright magenta. You want to go with very earthy tones. So you want to do white isn't bad, you know, brown isn't bad, green isn't bad, your grays, your light grays, things like that. Even black is not bad colors for a tent. You just don't want your tent to be, you know, overzealous. You don't want your tent to be like, hey, look at me. You want it to really blend in with the area. So what I'm going to use here is going to be brown and green, just because I like the way that the brown wool looks with the spruce fence post that I'm using here. So there we go. We have the sides of this, and then we're just going to build up and over like so. And then I'm probably going to do the same thing on this side. And I like to make this look a little bit striped as well. I just think that that looks a little cool. So I'll probably do like a white line just like that. And I think that looks pretty darn good for a tent. Now, also, you're going to want your tent to be useful, so you're going to want to add things like a bed in here. So, once again, earthy tones, do like a brown or a green bed. I think that the green bed will look really nice in here, so just like that, that will work. Then you're going to want some storage. I'm going to use barrels because it's one of the new blocks in 1.14, and you don't have to have an open block space above it in order to put things in it like you would a chest. So what I can do is just line these along here like so, and I can still access the barrel even though there's full blocks above it. So that's really nice, and I like using those. So over on the other side, I would use like some furnaces, things that you would need for exploring. So if we do furnace, blast furnace, regular furnace, and then, I don't know, I would probably do like a smoker. That would do quite nice in here as well. So maybe throw that right there. And there you go. You have yourself a nice little tent for you to sleep in. Okay, what else do you need for a campsite? And this is kind of how I build. I think of, what would a campsite in real life have? So the next thing that I think of whenever I think of a campsite would be like sitting around the fire. So we're going to need some chairs. So in order to do chairs in Minecraft, I'm just going to do simple stair technique. Now I'm going to do kind of different styles of chairs. I'm going to do an oak and then probably a spruce. And then I'm also going to get some different signs. I really like these new dark oak signs. I think that they look extremely good as like arms to chairs. So I may just use those, but let's do something like this. Put a sign on the side here, and look at that contrast. I really like the contrast between the dark oak and the spruce on these chairs. Same thing goes for the regular oak. I think that this looks really good together. Yeah, that looks really nice. And instead of like what most people do, they put another chair right here on this side. That makes things look a little bit too uniform, and you don't want your campsite to look extremely uniform. Campsites, if you've ever been camping, they're kind of a mess. They're kind of a natural mess. So what I'll do is I'll sometimes just off-center one, something like that, just to add a little bit of difference here. All right, and there you go. So now you have the basis of a campsite. it's actually coming out pretty good. Let's go ahead and check this guy out at nighttime and see what we're looking at. So it's kind of dull. You can kind of tell that already, but we're going to spruce this guy up as we go along here a little bit more. So go ahead and set time back to day, and let's keep working here. So one of the first things that we're going to want to do is get light in here, because light inside of Minecraft adds a lot. So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to use the new lanterns that they just added in 1.14. I think that these are going to look really nice, and placing them on top of fence posts is a thing. So I'll probably do something like this and just throw a lantern on top. Another thing that you can do is, like, from these trees that we left, kind of hang a lantern off the trees like that. And since I plan on doing another campsite over here later, I'll probably come over here, add another lantern just like so. And I don't know, I may do one like right here or something like that. Just give a ton of light to this area. Light inside of Minecraft makes things look prettier most of the time. So especially whenever you're outdoors, light makes things look prettier. So, and then maybe I'll add one more lantern right there. I think that that's looking a little better already. Another thing that I had whenever I went camping as a kid a lot was a picnic table at all of the campsites. So that's something that I think I want to add into this as well. So I'll probably throw a picnic table like right here in this area. So let's go with spruce again, just because I really like the texture of spruce. And then let's grab some spruce slabs. Now what I'm going to do here is grab some grass blocks, kind of build up like this, and then place a upside down stair just like so. Kind of come over by a little bit, maybe, in fact, maybe we'll want to do this too wide. I think that that'll look a little bit better. So something like that. Yeah, I like that. I think that'll look nice. And then do the same thing on this side to add like the other side of the stairs, basically. So like that. There you go. So now you have a nice little table here. In order to add chairs, I would just do something like this. But in this case, I think I'll want to use the oak stairs just to make it look like it's a different block, right? That way it looks like this is chairs, this is table, this is chairs. That way it's a little bit diversifying a little bit, if you guys know what I mean. So that'll look really nice. Do like some dark oak signs here. Make it look like a bench instead of just a chair. So just like so. All right, and I really like that. Now all you need to do is add in a little bit of detail on top of the picnic table. So I'll add in some placemats, some item frames, just like so. Add them like that. And then just for some added detail, take some food, put some food on the table, make it look like people are actually eating here. So like some chicken there, some berries there. You may even want to like rotate these a little bit just so they look a little different. I don't know, just something like that. And that looks pretty good. Maybe even, I know my mom, whenever we went camping, she would always like find flowers or something like that and put them in a flower pot on the table. So that could be something you might want to do as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This one's for you, mommy. Let's go ahead and get a flower. Let's see. I think all the flowers actually have names now, right? So let's do, I don't know, let's do like a pretty little dandelion on the table. There we go. That's a nice little bit of detail there. And now we have a picnic table for our campsite to eat at. So we got pretty much all of the big blocks done that you need for a campsite. You have a picnic table, you have chairs, you have a campfire, you have a tent. Another thing that you may want to do is some type of water source, so a cauldron or something like that. Throw that, I don't know, kind of away from the campsite, but kind of close as well. So this can be like your well, and I'll just grab a water bucket real quick, fill that guy up. There you go. And now here's the part that things are going to get interesting. Now you need to blend all of this together. And the easiest way to blend things together inside of Minecraft is by using the floor. You're gonna want to kind of blend the terrain together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use coarse dirt. Regular dirt, which we already have down, obviously, because it's grass. Come back here. Coarse dirt. There we go. coarse dirt, and then I'll probably use some path blocks as well. So let's get us a shovel out just like so. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is make the areas that looks like you're in and out of a lot. I'm going to use the coarse dirt for that, and then kind of some areas that maybe is really, really heavily used, use some path blocks. So we're gonna try and blend as much as possible together these areas. So like your tent area, that's going to be pretty heavily used. So you're going to want path blocks in here. You're going to want coarse dirt. Places where like the posts are or where your bed's on top of, leave that as grass. I think that'll look nice. And then just kind of around the campfire, you're going to want that to be pretty heavy in coarse dirt because people are going to be moving in and out of this campsite quite a bit. So this is something that you're going to want to do. As you go further out from the campsite, right, you're going to want less and less of the coarse dirt because people aren't going to be wandering away from the camp. They're going to be staying pretty much right around here at all times. So just keep that in mind. You really want to think about, like, if I was at a campsite, right, where would I be moving back and forth between? You'd be moving from your tent to the campfire, to the picnic table, and maybe to the water from time to time. So maybe do a little bit around this, just kind of sparingly. But that is what you kind of want to do here. You want to think about, like, if I was at a campsite, where would I be walking all the time, right? So I'm going to do, maybe leave that as grass, and then come through with path blocks every now and then. These path blocks are very, very dark, so don't use them a whole lot. In fact, I'm probably going to remove that one and maybe do this over here. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better already. Maybe do one there. And I think that's looking pretty good so far. Make sure that you get the other side of the table as well. Like so. Make sure that you get pretty much the entire campsite kind of spread out amongst with this dirt, with this coarse dirt. Make sure that you have everything looking a little bit better. So that's looking pretty good already. This is not a bad looking campsite at all. So let's go ahead and time set nighttime, and let's see what this baby looks like at night. You know, that's actually not bad. That's a pretty good looking campsite, but it can use a little bit more of the finer details. You're going to want some grass. You're going to want some flowers. You're going to want some things like that to make this campsite feel a little bit more alive, like you're actually camping outdoors. So I think that's what I'm going to work on next. Let's go ahead and get back here. One of the new things that are in Minecraft that I really like are the sweet berries, because they're actually a really nice decorative block. If you go ahead and just place one down, they're kind of weird looking whenever they are just kind of like not grown, but once they grow, once they're fully matured, they actually have a nice red pop to them, and I really like them kind of as a decorative block. Also, it looks like it's a little bit dark back here. Let's see, where can we add some light? Maybe like right here? There we go. That makes that area look a little bit better. There we go. Perfect. So these berries are really nice. Also, your basic flowers, ferns, things like that. Those will do really good in this area as well. So I'm going to grab grass, fern, maybe like some poppies, because that was what was here originally in this area. I never use too high flowers for the most part. That's just my personal preference. I think that they're a little bit too in your face, if you guys know what I mean. Let's just go ahead and do grass. There's the tall grass. Anyway, I think that the tall flowers, the too high flowers, like these lilacs over here, they're just a bit too tall and I don't know, they're just too in your face. I don't like them. I rarely use too high flowers whenever I build. But, you know, if you guys like them, or if you find a place that, you know, they fit really well, then go ahead, by all means, use them. But for me, it's not something that I particularly like. I think that they're a little bit too out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add like some flowers. And another thing that I want to mention here is you never want to overdo it with your details. You don't want things to be overly detailed. You just want little bitty things. Like I think that I have maybe too many poppies too close together right now, so I'll just kind of spread those out a bit. And then ferns, they kind of blend in with the background. So we'll add those kind of sparingly just around. Kind of like so. And in fact, I think that I have a little bit too much there. Okay, that's fine. And you basically just have to play this out. Also, you don't want to add any of these decorative blocks inside of this area, right? Inside of where you would be walking. You don't want decorative blocks in here because we've already established, right, that this is coarse dirt because people are walking through here constantly. Which means if you had like a flower right here, right, that flower would be trampled, right? If this was real life, this flower would be so it doesn't make sense for this to be here. So get rid of that. That doesn't make any sense. There's no point in there being flowers around your campfire. It doesn't make sense logically. So make sure that you spread these around the outside of the campfire in order to make them kind of as additional pieces to your campsite that they're not actually part of the campsite. They're more of like background pieces. So kind of think of it like that. Around my cauldron over here, because this would be like a wet area, theoretically, what I would do is maybe bring that up like that and then add a bit of tall grass, maybe a bit of regular grass around it, just because that's supposed to be like a really hydrated area because there's a well. So that kind of makes sense. Maybe add like some grass blocks here, maybe along this ledge a bit, maybe down here. And I think that that's looking pretty good so far. Let's get a different type of flower here just so we get a different contrast with the poppies. And then we'll start working on another campsite. That way I can show you guys how to blend them together. So let's go ahead and get like this oxeye daisy. Is that... No, that looks pretty good. I think that'll be a nice contrast. So we'll add like that there and maybe one... Putting one there with that over there just makes it look like it's not natural. So maybe we'll put it over on the other side. That's a little bit too close to that poppy. Maybe right there. Too close to the other daisy. See, this is what I do. This is kind of how I think. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good spot. Maybe not. Maybe it's too close to that poppy, and you just kind of gotta feel your way through designing something. But I think that looks pretty good so far. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to work on building another campsite, and then I'll show you guys how to blend a path from one campsite to the other campsite. So I will bring you guys back in just a minute. Alright, ladies and gents, so I now have another smaller campsite built up. This one doesn't have things like a picnic table or a cauldron or anything like that. It just has the tent, bed, campfire, and some seats outside of the campfire. So much smaller layout here, but still will do the job for what we're trying to do here. All I want to do is show you guys how, if you want this campsite and another campsite, so it looks like it's a campground, in order to connect these up, basically all you want to do is a path. You want to do kind of a broken up path with lanterns hanging down from trees in between them, or maybe even like if you can manage it to get like a swing or something like that from the trees. Basically you want it to feel alive between this area and that area over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off with like a pretty broken, beaten up path. Something a bit like this. And we're just going to kind of connect these together. Like they're connected by the dirt in the ground, but they're not actually connected in any way, if that makes sense whatsoever at all. Also, take some path blocks, run those a bit as well. That'll add a little bit more depth and texture to this area as well. So something a bit like that. And also you can make these paths as wide as you want to as well. They don't have to be like a direct line. You can kind of curve them or something like that. Whatever you really want to do, you can do. It's just, in this case, I'm kind of limited on space. So what I'm going to do is just connect them up like that and call it good. Now, another thing that I would like to do is I just said that having a swing or something like that could be cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this tree right here. And then off the side of this guy, I'm going to see if I can make myself like a little swing set or something like that hanging from this tree that maybe the kids from this campsite and the kids from that campsite kind of meet here in the middle and play around this little swing set that we're going to build. So something like that, and then maybe bring down... Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I've never made a swing set inside of Minecraft, so something like this maybe? And, ooh, having that connect there is not going to look good. Okay, hold on. Let's do it. Maybe we may have to customize this tree a little bit. So let's take, let's take this out and add a little bit of leafage there. Just like so. And now we'll bring down this wood like so. Bring it down pretty low. Maybe like right there. And then we'll take like a slab. Like a spruce slab. And do it between there. Ooh, that's not connected though. Will this look good? Can you tell that that's a swing set? That looks pretty much like a swing set. I could buy that as a swing set. So that'll work, and that'll make this area look a little bit like it is connected to this area now. You know what would be really cool that they should add into Minecraft? They should add in like a tire. That way I could do like a tire swing. That would be really cool and really add to this area. So another thing, once you're done building your campsite, it's not good enough to just look at it during the daytime. You also need to make sure that you look at it at nighttime and make sure that you have enough lighting around to make this look like it's an actual campsite. So what I'm going to do is, once again, these lanterns are really nice for this. So take some fences, spruce fence, and let's just add like a light here because it's kind of dark. And I'll actually make this one a little bit higher than the other ones that I've done. That one looks good. Maybe put a smaller, lower one over on this side just to light it up a bit. And I didn't put any lights over here at this campsite. So let's just do one like that. And then one off the back here or something. So there you go. Our campsite is now done. Let's go ahead and head out here and let's look at what this entire thing looks like all together. I think that looks pretty good. I think that we kind of got this area in a situation that it looks like it could have been here all along, right? And it looks like this campsite may share a picnic table, may share lunch with this campsite, and they're kind of family, you know? And the kids are getting together and playing on that swing set there, and I really don't know how these guys are going to get water because I didn't set up a cauldron, but you know what? Maybe they're sharing. Maybe they're sharing. I don't know. It's Minecraft. Everything's kind of up to interpretation. But anyway, guys, this is my build tutorial for a campsite and kind of how I think about things as I build them. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's something very different for my channel, something that I haven't done before. So let me know what you guys think. And without further ado, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. You guys have a great day.